Get them fired up and get them to the staging lanes, baby, because 8th Mile Apparel is now carrying Going Bracket Racing merch. Hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and much more can be yours today by visiting 8thmileapparel.com. We appreciate each and every one of you guys supporting the Going Bracket Racing YouTube and Facebook pages.
What's up, everybody? Casey and George back on November 12th, 2024, episode 176 of the Going Bracket Racing live show. You see a different look out here. I kind of slapped this all together last minute. So if things don't work out perfectly, that's not, well, it is my fault actually, but we'll just have to, you got to give me some grace on some stuff, man. I gotta move some things around. But of course, we always got to thank those people that help us give this show to you on YouTube and Facebook at 5:30 now. We're going to start being at 5:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Central Time for all you followers. We got to thank TSR Racing Products for sticking with us. Power Glides, Turbo 350s, 400, 727s. You need those freshened up, you need to call TSR. BRG 3D printed parts. You want to get a hold of Brian for any of those custom-made parts that you need on your ride. Anything that he makes, I guarantee you'll be lighter than whatever you got going on anyway, and it can all be custom-made 3D CAD software. Send him the part in the mail. He can make you a better one. Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. You want to get those graphics for your business? You need stuff for PRI specifically. Call Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas. He'll get it printed up for you. Help the racing community by supporting Syntex Printing. Driven Racing Oil. Use code GBR10. Get yourself 10% off. I used a whole lot of speed clean getting those black streaks from all those screws out on the outside of my trailer, and it looks as close to brand new as brand new could be for a 2003 model right now. I think it looks pretty good. My wife will tell you that she did a whole lot of waxing on that trailer as well. I did the wax on, she did the wax off. So all I'm saying is that Driven Racing Oil products, speed clean. That's what you need to get those trailers looking better after you let them sit under a tree all summer long. Who else we got here? Proform Parts. All the free giveaways that we're doing. We just gave away a starter. We need to hear from Camden Green so we can get that starter information shipped out to him so that way he can get his free starter. Otherwise, we'll have to give it to somebody else. We'll give you a few more weeks, though, Camden. We know that you're a strong supporter of GBR. You get that information over to us. We're going to give away, I guess I might as well say it right now. We'll give away the billet degree wheel this month. The real nice one. All you guys are getting ready to go redo all your engines this year. do any kind of newness that you got going on, you need to degree that bad boy in, and you want this big old billet degree wheel. I got one over here somewhere around here. I got one. It's in one of those totes over there, if you can see them, or maybe it's in that one. I don't know, but it's monstrous. You can turn the whole motor with it, I promise you. Crew Chief Pro software. If you're racing in the wintertime, you definitely need a little bit of an idea as to what the weather's going to be, because out here in North Carolina, it could be 80 degrees, could be 40 degrees. You don't know what's going on. You need to get some Crew Chief Pro software so you got a little bit of an idea of what it's like going into those blind runs, because we still got a lot of racing down here in the South going on. Where else am I here? 8th Mile Apparel. You want some hats like this? You want a shirt that I have on under this shirt that you can't see right now? You can get your own. Go look at 8thmileapparel.com. Look at that screen behind me right there, right now. 8thmileapparel.com. That's where you need to. That couldn't have worked any better, George. Visit 8thmileapparel.com. Support the channel. Other than that, George, I think I've run through everything I need here. If I'm looking down all the time, it's because I normally got monitors everywhere. Now I got you down here. So I'm looking at you down here. I got a camera up here. I don't know what's going on out here right now, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man, the level of multitasking that happens behind this show is it's pretty interesting to see. I got about 4 monitors here and a laptop there. I know you can probably see this when I'm touching, but and a laptop here. Hey guys, yeah, I know you're on that camera. Anyway, yeah, man, Casey, a good view, boy. Good view. Very nice audible that you pulled there and got out there to the shop. Brand new, everybody. You see the beautiful Top Sportsman car sitting right behind him. It's going to set the world on fire next year. So thanks for joining us on another episode of GBR, man, and welcome in. And we're definitely going to be needing your thoughts today as we get into the meat of this event, of this particular podcast today. Definitely would take a little bit of community participation. So, but yeah, Casey, man, everything's going good over here in Texas. We still hot for some reason, dude. I don't necessarily understand when it's going to get cooler, but let's make it after the Thanksgiving holiday. That way we can go out and watch the Super Bucks that we'll be bringing to you live here on Going Bracket Racing. I do believe, don't quote me right now, but I believe we'll probably have that one live on Motor Mania as well. So thanks to Motor Mania for allowing us to do that here at Going Bracket Racing, go live on both pages, and definitely looking forward to Pete Pennington's event. This is just one of those things I'm not going to get into right now because I know we're going to bring it back into the stream as we get going down the line, Casey, and discussing once a year that we do every year right about this time, the state of bracket racing. But this just so happens to be the 2025 edition. Hit that share button, hit that like button, start commenting. The more you guys do that, the further this stream gets on the vlog side of things, and that means the more community participation we'll get. Sometimes Facebook's a little tricky; they like hiding us behind other things. Well, the more you comment and share, the more in front we'll be. So appreciate you guys for hitting those share buttons. Casey, it's gonna be a fun one today, man. I think I look forward to this particular topic every year. I believe. In more than one way. Sometimes it's for the negative, sometimes it's for the positive. But as we get ready to move, Casey, and before we get started, where you want to head off right off the bat, man, as far as for the state of bracket racing?
Man, as far as I'm concerned, I think that the state of bracket racing is really not slowing down ever since 2020, in my opinion. As far as we know why 2020 was the way it was, because everybody was getting free money for the most part and they were spending it all on racing. But ultimately, we expected things to get slower and slower and slower. I think you're pointing over here like you're supposed to be texting me or something like that, but,
No.
but I'm not sure. I'm just trying to figure out if my Wi-Fi is working out here. I'm not 100% certain. Am I looking good?
Test. Yeah, I'm testing too. I'm getting messages. Remember, we got that message in GBR that I was real scratchy. So if anybody wants to comment, if you hear me screeching a little bit there, I think I have a problem with my mic. But if you hear it scratching, let me know, and I'm trying to solve that as we go on. Sorry about interrupting you, Casey. And thanks for letting me know. I put 2024 instead of 2025. I'll change that after. You're good on your end. Again, I'm just chasing that scratchy mic issue.
bigger again. Well, ultimately, I definitely expect with what just happened for 2025 to be even bigger than it is already. I expect people to be fine with spending money. I expect people's businesses to be really good. I think the next, not just 2025, I think all the way until basically essentially 2030, I think is going to be a blowout as far as bracket racing goes. If you ever thought that you wanted to promote a race, I think now is the time. I think that there's going to be plenty of participation. I think there's going to be plenty of people buying new parts. Man, I really wish we could make it to PRI this year to see what's going to happen. I don't know if it'll happen right now. Maybe it worked out. Maybe next year, our every other year idea, maybe 2026 is, or well, I guess it would be 2025, but going into 2026, this time next year is going to be a totally different space for what's going to happen within the entire racing community as a whole, as far as I'm concerned. I think, we had a couple new drag strips come in this year with Flying H. I think that's going to have a lot of big stuff coming. We have the Winter Series coming up for Drag Illustrated. They have 3 races down there this year. I think that's going to be highly participated. And, of course, we've already had some major announcements coming up for next season for the bracket racing community. We saw some promoters leave, but I think the other promoters stepped in as soon as those others left. Dan Fletcher, after an extremely successful FTR events, and I know I say Dan only all the time, and I know Dan would get on me about saying that. It's not just him, but ultimately FTR events, we'll just say that from now on because that's what it's actually called. Extremely successful Galat 250. Announced they're going to have 2 races next year, not just 1. So that's already a step in the right direction. They're going to come with another 250, I believe. Relatively the same format. Nothing's been released, but single entry 250 cars. They're going to have one in St. Patrick's Day, and then they're going to have another one, I believe, around the same time next year. Additionally, we had Kohlberg Promotions took over the Thanksgiving tradition, I'll call it, at Piedmont, where they run 220s in the foot brake side of things. So we watch those. I always watch a lot of my buddies out here while I'm eating turkey, watching on TV, eating turkey, and they're out there racing. So one day I'll make it out there myself. My car is going to be out there this year, just ain't going to be me in it. Matthew Medlin's going to be wheeling that thing for me, hoping to bring home about $40,000 if all works out. But so we'll see some people out there. And what else we got going on? We still got Triple Tens door car race at Galat Motorsports Park. I believe that's next week. So there's still plenty of racing to be done this year, man. And then, of course, we got the Mini Million. Still, what is that, 540s or something, or 440s or something in Gainesville or wherever?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Definitely a big race, man. Definitely something to look forward to. And just, it really couldn't happen at a better time. We're going into the end of 2024. We're getting ready to move into 2025. And we get good news right off the rip. And the first place I'm going to is definitely going to be to the gas prices. I don't know if you guys are in Texas like I am, but I believe I saw gas itself was $2.30 yesterday, and I think diesel might have been like $2.50. So right off the bat, we see a extremely low price for fuel, especially in a time or climate, should we say climate, whatever you want to call it. It's the season at which it generally gets cold and everything generally goes up. So, what are your thoughts on that, Casey? Already coming into one of the most important factors of going to a big race or staying at home for the local races, them gas prices.
Oh yeah, man. As soon as all I know is fuel prices were low 4 years ago. That's all I know. And all I know also is that, like you said, before you go racing, before you even talk about spending money on entry fees, before you talk about spending money on race car parts, you have to get to the racetrack. You have to be able to afford to get there. You have to be able to afford the entry fee, afford to buy back. And it definitely helps out whenever it doesn't cost you $150 to fill your tank, which actually at one point, whenever the prices were sky high, I want to say my truck has a 36-gallon tank, And I want to say that it cost me $185 one time to fill that bad boy up. And all I know is 4 years ago, at one point, I was filling it up for $70. So that's legitimately for your local racing. That's your entry fee.
Right.
You know?
Right. And that's
So,
a huge hit before we even get to the racetrack, let alone when we leave the racetrack, man. Hopefully everybody leaves in one piece, which we'll get into in a little bit as well. But right off the bat, Casey, we talked about last year around this time, we talked about having weekend events, even on the local area, where the event was race Saturday and race Sunday, or Friday and Saturday, to save on that tow bill. What are your thoughts, man? I believe it should probably still stay that way, because I feel like it definitely didn't hurt anything. And if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts on keeping it back to back days in a weekend for even local racing?
I would say that you're always better off having a 2-day weekend. And I've always you can think of it as two different things. You can think of it as, if I'm the guy who owns the racetrack, and I'm just talking about a local event right now, if I own the racetrack, in one sense, it's a good idea, in another sense, it's a bad idea, because if you're figuring I'm going to race, say, rather than racing 4 weekends a month, then I'm going to race 2 weekends a month, but race 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. The problem is, what do you do if that's the bad weekend where it's bad weather? Now you just lost half a month, essentially, whenever you could have raced next weekend. You could also talk about rescheduling things like that. We won't get into that because that's just a long, drawn-out conversation. But it's always better off, in the best-case scenario, to get people there. Once they're there, they're probably staying.
Yeah. So I would definitely say, especially here in Texas, that we definitely want to see the green races more. You know, we see them just about every time we're out there, where we have a race and then there's a race inside of that race that allows us to come and race twice in the same day. Kind of doing the same thing is what we're talking about, racing day. You know, it's going to go into 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning by the time we're done anyway. So technically we are racing 2 days in a row, but so hopefully that continues as well.
Yeah, I think that you're always better off getting everybody there. You tow one time, you only pay the fuel bill one time. A lot of times, once people get there, they're not going to leave. And it gives people more time to figure every single weekend for various reasons. So you can get people to be able to schedule their personal lives around being able to still race. So I think that'll keep on happening. Not to mention, even for trackside, I don't know if this is a thing, but I wonder if tracks that have curfews could say, hey, can we have an extended curfew only for these dates? And then we won't race at all on these dates. And then maybe they can not have to worry about splitting up races whenever there's 16 cars left because they didn't make curfew.
Right. That's definitely a good point. So let's talk about this too, Casey, as we continue moving along in this show. The state of bracket racing would also impact, or let's see if it does, move the same way as the rest of the economy. Who's going to be the first promoter out of the ones that we're going to mention here in just a little bit to throw even more in the pot? You know what I mean? Because now we could either lower the entry fee, we could keep the entry fee the same and add something to it based on the prediction that we're going to have a very good year 2025. Who's going to do it first, Casey? I know who I think will do it first. Who do you think's going to shock everybody with the size of a race, put it that way?
I mean, the thing is saying that it would shock people wouldn't go along with the person I would pick, or the people, I guess I would say I would pick, because ultimately the people who just did a huge race, the Great American Boys at the USA 500K, they've already paid $1 million twice.
True.
So,
True.
You know, I'm not saying they're going to pay $1 million immediately, but I'm saying that it might be on the books again.
True.
I know Galen talked last time he was on this show, and he said, man, it's too much stress. But it seemed to me like Britt was like, yeah, but maybe we'll do it again. So, you know, I would say probably them, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna say, I said it once and I'll say it again. I would really, really love to see that race in the beginning of the year. because I really feel like they will, man, that place will be packed to the brim. I like how they do with their showing the split. They're not scared to put a camera out there on the track. All of the above has been thought out over there at the Great American Bracket Races. I just want to see them in the beginning of the year, because I feel like the end of the year, most everybody's either scratching the bottom of the barrel for their drag racing fund, or there may be something wrong with their old hot rod. You know what I mean?
It's but it could also go that same way. I don't know if there is a perfect time to do something like that. And this is why, because in the beginning of the year, the people who would follow something like that, they race a lot. And they're going to wear out combinations because they're racing a lot. They're going to have a new combination in the beginning of the year. That's a lot to bet on a brand new combination, potentially an entirely brand new car, to essentially shake it down for a race of that size. There's plenty of people who would do it. There's people who think I'm crazy for testing as much as I test. My buddy Adam Boya, Show Enough Performance, he tells me all the time, he's like, I just test during the race, because why are you going to pay the same amount of money when you can pay $20 more and race for, a couple $1,000? It doesn't make sense. And I said, okay, yeah. I mean, I understand that also. So there's that aspect. Then you say, okay, well, everybody will have everything lined out by May or June. Now it's getting hot.
Not true.
Now nobody wants to go because it's 110-degree heat index. Then you go towards the end of the year and you say, well, everybody's stuff's getting worn out. I mean, ultimately, I think you got to put the race out there. You got to promote it well, and you got to say, this is when it is. Come one, come all. Here we go.
I'm gonna take this
because the other thing about later in the year, before I finish that thought, is people have time to win money throughout the year and have a good year, and now people can come that otherwise wouldn't have come.
Yeah, that makes sense too. I'm gonna take this one from the chat, Casey, because it's still along the lines of entry fees, and we're gonna actually throw it into the purses category. Oh, Zach Jones here is saying, what's everybody's weekend program payouts? We know where Zach's at, Casey, and we kind of know what we came from. Maybe the $1,200, if you're lucky, $2,000 range of payouts on the regular weekend racing for the weekend warriors. Down here in Texas, I believe we're somewhere at, I think we're at 3,000 just about everywhere. Well, should I say at Extreme for sure. And I feel like even Gleghorn's races out there at the Texas Motorplex 2 days in a row, I believe, don't quote me here because I'm not looking at a flyer, guys. And Gleggy, if you're watching, feel free to correct me. But I feel like Gleggy's race is probably 3,000 to win as well. Where are you at, Casey?
Just for local races out here?
Yep, just your points races.
Out here, depending on where you go, it's 3 to 5
Gotcha.
everywhere, pretty much. I know Kinston and Coastal are right around the $3,000, 3,500 to win. Galat's 5, Darlington's 5. I don't know what VMP is.
Sure.
I want to say Piedmont and Mooresville are both in the 3 range. Farmington, I think, is in that 3 range. So pretty much everybody out here is 3 to 5 for a points race.
Sure. And definitely, even when we think about the local area, I give them a little bit of grace here. If they don't raise their payouts, they're the one who run in the track in the first place, so I kind of don't care. If they don't put it on, then we ain't racing in the first place, if I made any sense there. But so what I'm saying is I don't predict to see the local racing purse increase in any time in the near future. That's just me now. It very well could. What are your thoughts, Casey?
I don't think they need to. Personally, I think there's a place for whenever you want to run for over $5,000. I think those races exist. There's plenty of them. There's plenty of choices everywhere now. You got Troy Abercrombie promoting out on the very, very West Coast now. That was the only dead zone for a really long time other than the Spring Fling in Vegas. So you got Troy's race out there. The Midwest has basically been fully taken over by TB Promotions as far as mega money goes. You have plenty of chances there now. You got CP out in that area. You got
Beard.
You got Flicker down south. Yep. You got Beard coming in. You got over and then on this side, obviously there's a plethora of stuff out here. We got everybody out here. And then in the deep south, you got all those Great American and King of the Coast races. So I mean, I don't really think that the local track doesn't need to compete with these people, not to mention they can't compete with these people. Just is what it is. The local track needs to compete for the weekend racer that wants to race for, say, $2,000 to $3,000 and have a $50 to $70 price point, depending on what you got going on. And I'm talking for top ET side of things.
Sure.
There's no need. Everybody doesn't want to race for over $5,000.
Sure.
Things get expensive very fast. There's a lot of people that would like to race for, like, the amount at the top doesn't matter as much as the entry fee, and the buyback needs to stay under $100.
Sure.
If you have a worst case scenario, there's a lot of people that want to race in that realm.
Sure.
So that's kind of the, I think a lot of people just need to realize, as far as local track promoters, you're not competing with these people. You don't need to. People don't necessarily want you to, and you shouldn't think you need to either, because local tracks need to exist as well.
Yeah, we can keep going there just a little bit, because I want to bring out what I would consider to be obvious. I'm not 100% sure if it is, but if you're going to throw a 10 grander at a local area, well, you got to put down a 10 grand track. You can't throw a 10 grander and give me a $3,000 racetrack to race on, okay? You're just not going to get return customers if you do something of that nature. I don't know if that happens often. I'd have to imagine that it probably does, where you try to up the ante a little bit, but you chinch on the area at which is most important, that racetrack surface. So just a little food for thought in this conversation, Casey, is as we keep moving on, though. But hang in there, guys, because I think it's a good time for us to cut on into some marketing partners, let them get a few words on to you about what they like to do for the sport of bracket racing. Make sure you support them first. Continue to hit that like and subscribe on the YouTube side. Continue to share this on the Facebook side. Let's grow this thing as big as we can, and we'll be back with more from Going Bracket Racing, State of Bracket Racing 2025. I will correct that title later. Hang in there. BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide, Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
We've completely redesigned our best-selling thermostat fan to make it even better. Proform's high-performance universal 15-inch electric fan is the perfect upgrade to replace the stock fan in your vehicle. It's equipped with a thermostat that's adjustable from 160 to 240 degrees. Mounted to your radiator supports with sturdy brackets and driven by a heavy-duty motor, this unit pulls up to 2,800 CFM of air with a 14-amp current draw. All mounting hardware and wiring are included.
All right, guys. Welcome back. Going Bracket Racing, episode 100 and is it 76, Casey?
76, I think.
100.
If I counted them right, it was
176 of them, guys. We've been out here doing this, and you guys have been right there along with us. Right off the rip, we got to thank you guys for being part of the Going Bracket Racing community, hitting that like and share and that subscribe and leaving your comments in the chat, kind of making it fun to do this, guys. You don't even understand. Me and Casey will sit here and look at a comment, and then after the show, we'll laugh about said comment because it's kind of hard to do it right here during the show. We'll laugh a little bit during the show, but you guys are pretty funny out there too. So keep us laughing, keep the sport growing. That's all we're about anyway here at Going Bracket Racing, is to continue to bring awareness to the sport that we all love, so that we can continue to breed future racers. Because if there's no future racers, our sport's gone. That's all I got for that. TSR Racing Products helps do that. anything you need, make sure you go over to TSR and show support for those who support our sport. Proform Parts, Crew Chief Pro, Driven Racing Oil, BRG Motorsports 3D printed parts, Team 14 Motorsports, Syntex Printing, Ken Jones Performance. Those guys over at Your Ad Here. I'll tell you what, George and Casey, they do a great job, man. I'll tell you what, the best marketing partners you can think of. One guy's name is George and one guy's name is Casey. It's pretty funny, isn't it? But if you would like to partner with them, just give us an email here at goingbracketracing@gmail.com. We'll be glad to get your parts, your product, whatever the case may be, out to the Going Bracket Racing community, which will transverse the bracket racing community as a whole. And those boys over at 8th Mile Apparel to get your some gear to show that you support the old Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, podcast, Spotify, wherever else we are, Casey. I think we might be running in all circles at this point, but all right, man, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving, dude, as we continue with this state of bracket racing prediction 2025. We already know the spring fling bracket races are bringing more races to Galat. Most importantly, in my opinion, because I don't drive a dragster, is that door car race. What are your thoughts on that race? Do you think we have the ability to see a little bit more of that? And are you going to race that top sportsman in the door car race?
I might. I wish I'd like Peter to put up some. Peter needs to put up a prize for the fastest car there. I'm just saying. But I mean, I absolutely would like to. I want to say that Peter or somebody or whoever was announcing asked when I was going to be there, rather than just talking in the chat or whatever. So, but yeah, I want to really bad. It just depends on what's going on. I'm sure as of right now, man, I've been sending out people with the Nova, and they've been doing pretty good. So I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't actually got to race that car ever since I finally made it good. I started sending it out with people, and I said, well, they're bringing me back money, so what's the difference? But
Proform carburetor, by the way.
That's right. Proform carburetor, got some TSR racing products in the transmission on that car. Got a little bit of everybody's stuff up in there. So got some Syntex printing decals on there.
You know you got some driven in the veins.
Oh yeah, got some driven up in there. I'm gonna have to put some more driven in it after Matthew runs the crap out of it here pretty soon. Because old Dylan, I don't think he expected to do as good as he did in it. But yeah, man, I put good shocks on it and everything. This Adam Booya helped me out with that whole deal, got me where I needed to be on that aspect. And then, yeah, I mean, that car is very good right now. I haven't actually got to race it but one time since I made it that good. And since I got everything all lined out, and now it's even better after we did a jet change on it. So I think actually the one time I did run it, I got down and I got down to 14 cars at Galat's local deal, and then TG spray dropped the crap out of me, and TG Pascal put me on the trailer. I was 8 on the tree and 2 thou under, and he was in front of me and then not in front of me anymore. Huh. So, yeah.
So let's keep it moving, man. We know the door car race is going to be great, but guess what? When we go to a racetrack, we need one commodity, one consumable liquid that is very important to going start or not start. I know what's wrong with it. It ain't got no gas in it. Okay. Is the cost of fuel going to actually go down this year? I predict a potential drop in a barrel of methanol. I don't know what y'all gonna do about that liquid gold y'all got over there called racing gas. Good luck with that stuff. I don't have to worry about it. But Casey, man, your thoughts on the barrel of oil, or excuse me, barrel of fuel?
Barrel of fuel for us, I haven't seen methanol change much because people don't realize that methanol is actually made out of natural gas. It's not made out of anything, like I don't know if that's technically a petroleum product or whatever, but methanol is actually a byproduct, I believe, of manufacturing natural gas. As long as you can find somebody that sells it in bulk around you, which, it's hit or miss depending on where you're at, it's actually not terribly expensive out here.
$225?
No, it's a lot cheaper than that out here.
We definitely played $225 out here in Texas. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
But It just depends on where you get it. As far as racing gas goes, you guys are nuts. I don't know why you guys run gas for. There's literally no reason for it. If you're worried about the bearings and everything, just put some of that driven racing oil in there. Use code GBR10, get yourself 10% off, and then you'll save that money. But I'm telling you right now, everybody that we've converted to alcohol, first of all, out here where I live, it's hot. Everybody wants to round robin everything, and everybody wants to double enter. Don't understand why you run racing gas. It makes no sense to me. It's expensive. It doesn't make more power. If it does, it's because it's oxygenated or you got that real expensive stuff. It literally makes no sense to me why anybody runs that anymore. It doesn't kill the oil like you think. I have a video on our Facebook page right now, on the Going Bracket Racing Facebook page, of me draining 65 runs worth of driven out of the Nova, and it looks as brand new as 65 runs will look. And I can tell you right now what I'm going to do. This car behind me, I'm going to run however many runs I want to run in this car. I'm not going to run this car 65 runs, but I'm going to drain it out. I'm going to put it through a paint strainer. And if it looks good, I'm going to dump it in the Nova and keep running it.
Right.
Because it's a shame to waste it. There's no point in wasting it. What people don't understand about oil, and we're going to have people from Driven on here this winter to make sure that you guys understand this. But ultimately, if oil costs twice as much up front, but you can extend your oil change by 3 times and not hurt the quality of the oil and not hurt the bearings and not hurt any of that stuff, you're actually saving money by paying more for oil. But anyway, that's a long drawn out, I guess, explanation as to why I don't understand why people run gas, I guess.
See a comment over here in the YouTube. I kind of turned away from comments real quick, but we had a comment from Eric White. He says he got down to 7 cars this weekend at his local track. Guess how much money he brought home?
What's that?
He didn't bring home a blood nickel.
Yep.
That hurts, doesn't it, though? I feel for you, Eric, man. That's a lot of hard work not to bring home any ducat. Like, can I have a $50 bill or something? Give me a couple of vouchers at the doggone concession stand with cold beer. Doggone, hook me up.
Hey, man, it's tough. I've been in a gambler's race recently where I got down to 3 cars and didn't get a dime, but that's a gambler's race where you expect it all to be on top. But
right.
Yeah.
No. So we keep moving, man. One thing I'm going to say right off the bat is I've seen a few risks taken this year, risks, and CP Promotions he took a leap. He took a swing and it potentially is going to hit a home run. I believe I saw 9 events, if I'm not mistaken myself. I might have miscounted. There may be a few, give or take, that come off. Make sure you head over to Cody Pelage Racing Promotions 1, and you'll be able to find all the races that he's going to be putting on the Facebook page. But Casey, talk about a good year for that many races to be thrown. What are your thoughts on CP really up in the ante there?
And he did it before the election and everything too. So he was going to do it beforehand. So ultimately the way that Cody runs his races is he runs the races that a lot of people talk about. Big money doesn't necessarily mean 50 grand to everybody. Big money could be 5 grand, 10 grand. Well, that's where CP steps in. CP runs, I believe, for $100 a day, you run a 10 grander, and he usually runs 4 at a time. So for $400, you can run 4 10 granders. And then usually he has a practice tree race or gamblers races or whatever, golf cart races.
Food, always food. And I think it's going to be 3 at some of these places that are away from his home area, which makes sense. I mean, who can really spend 4 days outside of your job every single time you put on a race? But so I think some of these are going to be 3-day events. Casey, but I know we'll be out with GBR streaming at least 2 of them. Hopefully I can fit a couple more on them. I just feel like that's that area that suits myself and you, Casey. I don't go big money racing that often. If I'm close enough, then yeah, I will, right? But if otherwise, I'm looking for those 10 granders. And another guy who's really just made the announcement. I believe he's gonna keep the working man 10s grands going up there in Xenia, Ohio, and that's old Stage Light Promotions. Oh, Michael Beard stepping up into that what I would call was about to be a hole in that area. He's gonna bring in that, keep the same name, and we're gonna go working man's 10 grand Beard style. What are your thoughts on that one?
I mean, everybody seems like they love to go to Xenia. That area, as far as those smaller races go, and that's not really small. It's only small recently. In the last 5 years, 10 grand became small.
True.
But I mean, I think there's plenty of people, like I said in the beginning of this entire show, I think there's plenty of people out there that care more about what the entry fee and the buyback costs than what they could possibly win, because most people show up to the track, those local style guys, they show up to the track expecting to come home with whatever they brought to spend, not in their wallet.
I agree.
You know, and
Yep.
I think that there's a lot of people out there that aren't trying to break the bank, and they're not trying to chase a dream that may or may not come. It does come for some people though, and it does set a lot of people's careers off. For example, I know that Gleghorn was saying everybody knows who Donnie Hagar is now, but back whenever he won the OG Million, nobody, as far as I was aware, people out here didn't know who he was. And look what he's done since then, because it gave him the opportunity to go chase that. But those smaller races are a way for some of those local guys. If you win for example, you win CP's 10 grander or you win Michael Beard's 10 grander, that general vicinity they're going to win that in, they might say, I'm going to set $2,000 of this aside and I'm going to the OG Million.
Correct.
You know, because it's right down the street for anybody who would be racing at those events.
Correct.
So it gives people, the smaller races actually give people the opportunity to race the bigger races in some cases. I mean, there's a good chance that at any given point, 5% of the field might be those smaller guys. And when you're talking about progressive purse races like the OG Million, that's the difference between potentially paying $500 or $550,000 to win.
Correct. And that's another promoter we got to talk about. Since you brought it up, Casey, the OG, I would call this particular race exempt from all the talks that we're having. And every year that we predict the state of bracket racing going forward, the OG Million will not be in the conversation. Or if we mention it, it will just be that race that's always going to be packed and always going to be full of race cars. I'm going to include the Mini Million out there in Gainesville. Very, very soon, probably even including this year, that race is going to be just as large as the OG Million in St. Louis. So, we can kind of skip them if you want to. I like to give light to them, but they already got the light, Casey. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that race, I think it's so prestigious. It's the U.S. Nationals of bracket racing. It's the World Series of Pro Mod for bracket racing. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that run that race every single year. There's a lot of people who have run almost all of them since its existence. And I think essentially that race means so much. There's a lot of those particular guys that would say, if you told them I can only run one race a year, that would probably be it.
Yep.
You know, there's plenty of people that are class racers or, you know, stay on the NHRA side of things or only run big money stuff. And that's the only thing that they'll take away from that program. Like you might be out here like Luke Bogak. He's one of those people. He runs primarily Super Comp and Super Gas. But the OG Million, all of a sudden he runs bracket racing. Sean Langdon, obviously NHRA top fuel driver. And he always will make it to the OG Million. There's all these people there's times that, you know, you don't see cars all year, but all of a sudden they're at the OG Million. Right. So, and I think that the Mini Million in Florida, I think that's going to be the new Moroso 5-day is essentially what they're trying to figure out. I
feel like eventually it will be. It may only be a 3-day race plus a warm-up right now, if I'm not mistaken myself. But regardless, I don't believe there's anything there in that time frame. It's November 21st, I feel like, going forward. So it's perfect. It's right before Thanksgiving, and not right on top of Thanksgiving to where you actually don't get a chance to, if I'm not wrong anyway, you don't get a chance to eat with your family. Even if it is, they're probably going to throw some type of Thanksgiving meal that you don't want to miss anyway, right? But it's a perfect time for that, including down here in Texas, man, the Superbucks. I led with that. The Pennington brothers coming in. If they have 3 races next year, don't say I didn't tell you so, okay? Because it is very successful in this area at said track, Extreme Raceway Park, that we can pack that place out. We do it on a week-in, week-out basis in the first place. To come out and run for a decent amount of money is just what this area was needing in the first place, especially at that track. Not to say we didn't have it with Flickr Promotions, right? They come out here twice a year with one hell of a program. So this is just the way it is. But right now, as we predict racing, we're in an extremely good spot. We've said all we've said right now just to say 2025 forward is going to be very interesting in our sport. I don't know at what way we're going to move the needle or how we can, but I'm sure there are people who are thinking about that already.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that there's people now, like I said, after that election, there's a reason why the stock market jumped so much, man. And the way the stock market works is the stock market is predicting what it's going to be like 9 to 12 months from now. Whatever it's saying today is what they expect it's going to be 9 to 12 months from now. So based on the election, whenever everything skyrocketed, you expect this time next year to be great. Right. If we can do some of the things that people have talked about doing and they actually don't get all held up like they seemingly always do, if people do what they say they're going to do, things work out a lot better.
Hey, somebody named Scott Lewis. I'm pretty sure you might know who that is, Casey, but he's saying PDRA Top Sportsman 2025. That's probably one of those you was looking at right behind you, Scott.
Scott Lewis, man, he was my savior that day whenever he showed up down there. Yeah, no, not that day, actually, a week after that. When I brought this car out there, I was still testing everything. I got a lot going on. There's a lot to run in one of these that isn't like a bracket car. I mean, it's a bracket car, but not really, it's kind of a faker. It's like halfway between a pro mod and a bracket car. So, but Scott showed up, man. And I tell you what, I had both those parachutes out to pack and I had a whole bunch of stuff going on. And Scott came down there and helped me with everything I needed. And he told me, he said, "Hey man," he's like, "I love this Top Sportsman stuff." He said, "Just tell me whenever you're going to go and I'll take off work. We'll go." So I appreciate that. So, and he's got a nicer golf cart than me too. So that works out.
I'm going to tell you what, I got one more thing that I feel like you've already mentioned. One thing that we really didn't do very well in the last regime in this area, and that is shipping and the amount of money that it now costs to make an engine based on said shipping shortages. Are we going to see it go away? Because this directly impacts the price of things in our sport as we have to replace them. Do we see that come down? Do we see the shipping times go back? I seen people the other day complaining about being an Amazon Prime member and getting their stuff 4 days instead of 2. Well, they pay to get it in 2 days, okay? That's why you're a Prime member, sometimes even the next day. What is really going on, and is it going to be fixed?
Yeah, man. I mean, everything ultimately is connected to diesel fuel prices. That's what no one realizes. Ultimately, everything gets shipped. Everything, if you don't live in a coastal community with a shipping dock, and even if you do, how'd that get even from over there at that port to just right here whenever you're in this retail store? Everything had to get put on a truck and brought somewhere. Right. So if you can lower diesel fuel prices or gasoline prices or whatever, everything gets cheaper. Yeah, man. Everything.
Across the board, I agree with that. You see a lot more smokers going and people saying, "Hey man, come over and eat some of this food," even though it pretty much happens all the time at racetracks. You're going to see it a little bit more because ain't nobody scared to go to the grocery store to grab something to eat. So, Casey, man, again, to round it out, I've already said my feelings of where I feel 2025 is going to be. We can talk about it again in 25 leading into 26, but what are your thoughts as we close up today's episode?
I think all is well, man. I think everybody's going to be building new motors, intending on going racing next year. That's what I think. I think everything's getting freshened up. Like I said, there's still a ton of racing to be done this year. We go through a lull really in January, but I think all the way through middle December until Christmas time, we got tons of racing. I know Darlington still has testing tune all the way until Christmas time. So, obviously it's weather dependent, but there's still a lot to be done, a lot to watch. There's still going to be a lot of money to be made in the bracket racing community over these next couple months. So pay attention to Motor Mania and you'll see a whole lot of it.
Yeah, man, that's definite. And again, guys, thanks for being part of the GBR community, going bracket racing. Well, we expect to definitely try to grow this thing a little bit larger moving into next year as we continue to talk about bracket racing. It's pretty easy for us guys. I know sometimes you might not think this, but you could easily think, man, those guys are out there talking bracket racing all the time. This is what me and Casey would do if there wasn't a camera or a microphone in front of us in the first place, or if it was just a cell phone. So in actuality, we probably have more than 176 episodes. There's probably a few thousand in our repertoire that we've had in the past without bringing it out to you guys. But it's really more fun when you guys are out here on the YouTube side hitting that like button, telling everybody to hit the like button, bringing people into the community to kind of share it with us, man. And we can't thank you guys enough for that, for sure. Big things coming out of Driven and a few of the other guys that are going to be coming back to us. But I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to say you can use that code GBR10 into 2025 as well. So as we continue to gain marketing partners, we'll do our best to continue to gain discounts for you guys as well. So, Casey, man, if you ain't got nothing else, I'm just going to go ahead and close this out.
Oh, man, I'm kind of getting hungry from you messing around and pushing this back.
Hey, man, it's work. It's called work. Hey, see you guys next Tuesday. We'll probably be here at 4:30 again. I kind of like this time slot. Casey, man, I'll talk to you later. It's not permanent yet, but maybe for the next show, we'll see you at 4:30 again. Next Tuesday, guys. Hang in there. Be safe.